Hey, Jesse Eisenberg. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
This is well, y'all remember your double tap in Zombieland, but this is your a triple tap, baby, because you're a triple
Yeah.
threat in this thing. You're a writer, director, and star of A Real Pain in theaters now. I just watched it last night. Great job. Just so our listeners know, it's about these two cousins, David and Benji, a bit of an odd couple, go on a tour of Poland to honor their late grandmother. But why did you want to tell this story? What did you have family history, or what was your sort of personal in to this story?
Yeah, no, thanks so much for asking. You're the first person that has related this movie to Zombieland Double Tap. So that is a very flattering connection that I don't think I would have necessarily picked up on. But yeah,
That's a
exactly. No,
hard one to. That's a hard thing to.
you're the first person to figure out how. And so thank you. Yeah, this movie, like, yeah, is like very autobiographical. I mean, the movie is about my family's history. We even filmed the movie at the house that my family lived in up until 1939 in Poland. And I was also trying to, basically talk about not only my family's history, but the way I feel about my family's history, which is like, yeah, I come from people who, survived through a thousand miracles, the war in Poland, and yet I walk around personally just like I'm like a miserable person, and I'm always wondering how the hell am I so miserable when I should be the luckiest person on the planet? I should be kissing the ground every morning when I wake up that I'm alive. And so the movie is really trying to get into that personal question. You have these two guys, and as you said, it's kind of like a buddy comedy. These two guys who are very different and who experience their own inner turmoil in different ways. But I set the movie against the backdrop of this, historical trauma, and so it allows the audience to kind of like think about what pain is real, which is the title of the movie, A Real Pain. What pain is real? Is their pain real, this modern thing, or is the only pain that's real historical trauma?
Right. I love the juxtaposition, both for the characters and like you're saying with, just past and present in general. Like you're juxtaposing this, the horrors, the most darkest horrors in mankind's history, the Holocaust, with these modern day luxuries, like you're saying. Like literally, there's a whole scene where you're talking about, well, Kieran Culkin's character, who's also a real pain in the ass. There's double meanings,
Of
but there's
course,
this
yeah.
on a serious note. He's talking about like, hello, you don't see the irony where we're Jews riding on trains in first class when our ancestors were literally in the back getting carted to these camps. So yeah, just was it just like a ability to have like this rich past versus present, like this juxtaposition the entire way through?
Exactly, because I've done like a lot of like, Holocaust tourism. I've also toured the killing fields in Cambodia and in Rwanda, the genocide museum. And like I always have this feeling of like, I can't believe I'm just gonna go eat lunch after this.
Mm,
You feel like, shouldn't I experience something? Should I pinch
true.
myself? You know, should I hold a lighter under my finger for a few seconds or something? Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't I experience pain? I can't believe I'm going to go eat a nice lunch after this and then go stay in my hotel. And so it's something that I've always kind of wondered about and struggled with. And so in the movie, the characters are taking this train, down to see the concentration camp, and yet they're sitting in first class because they're Americans and the exchange rate is so good for them with Poland that it allows them to sit first class. And so, yeah, I just wanted to kind of call attention to that very uncomfortable irony. And Kieran's such a great character because he's the kind of character that can say whatever he's thinking, and so it allows me as a writer to like say the weird unspoken thing.
Right. And thanks for like kind of pulling out and leaving some of those concentration camp scenes in silence, like especially with the shoes and stuff. Like I felt like I felt like I was watching Renee's Night and Fog or something. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure you've seen that. Like there's
Oh,
this
I'm so
brilliant
sorry.
Holocaust doc.
What were you saying? I'm so sorry. I
Can you
missed.
can you hear me? Have you seen
Yeah.
Alan Renee's Night and Fog? That documentary back.
No, I know it. You've seen
Oh,
it?
check it out. It's oof, it was from the French New Wave. You met me, all
Of
those guys.
course.
But your shot where you showed the shoes and stuff, just it reminded me of that. It's unbelievable. He does a couple where he starts on, it's like a slow disclosure of like you think you see a little bit of a hair and then you pull back and it's just a mound of hair
Oh,
or a mound of
wow.
shoes. Your
Wow.
shoe
Wow.
shot reminded me of that. But anyway, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. Anyway, but yeah, bravo for that. But yes, I wanted to compliment you. Your big monologue scene, like 2/3 the way through the film when the camera's slowly pushing in on yourself at the table. That's your Oscar moment, man. Because that's where your writing, directing, and acting sort of are all on display in one big scene. But talk about why it was important for your character. As you're saying, Culkin's character is this hotshot and the hothead throughout the whole thing, seeking all this negative attention. But talk about how that character is important for your character. I assume you as a writer, you probably relate. Like you're like, hey man, I have my own pain, I have OCD, but I actually wake up every day and try to do something about it. And as a result, I get to go home to my family, wife, and kid at the end. Whereas, if you're just this negative attention seeking, light up the room, but you're a negative sourpuss all the time, like Calkin. Like, but why was it important for that scene in particular to have a whole monologue where your character finally gets to sort of say, hey man, I got issues too?
Oh, thanks. First of all, thank you so much for saying that. I guess I am I'm writing, I think, from a place generally of like just trying to know these characters so well that they actually can say something on their own. And when it got to that scene and Kieran's character went to the bathroom, David just naturally unloads because I'm like just thinking the whole movie, I want him as a writer, I'm like, he has to say something. He has to say something, but he can't because Kieran's
Yeah,
character is always overshadowing him. So when it got
yeah,
to that scene and David has one moment finally where he's alone, he just unloads and everything comes out of the last several days, everything he's been feeling, not just in the group over the last several days, but everything he's been feeling for 40 years in the shadow of this guy, of Kieran's character, who's such a big presence. And it just felt like that's what he would do. And then when I was acting it, it again just felt kind of like an extension of this is what my character needs. I've been so quiet on this tour because, we filmed that movie halfway through the
yeah.
shoot. And so I'm feeling so quiet and uncomfortable all the time in the scenes. And at that scene is like this weight lifted and it just is a great catharsis.
It's so well written and well acted. Like it's so
Thanks.
hats off to you. But I did want to, give you props for some of your directing too, because you're a relatively new director behind
Yeah,
the
sure.
camera.
Sure.
Like little choices like on the rooftop when at the towards the end when it's you and Kieran talking, I guess, smoking weed or whatever on the roof. You have it where it's brilliantly blocked. It's simple, but it's effective where, you're facing different directions. It kind of shows how you guys are, you guys are sort of at odds or whatever. But there's little things like that I thought were great. So I
Oh,
guess I
thanks.
wanted to ask, like, you approaching it as a director, like, which of your directors you work with do you think influenced your style the most? Like, I know, there's like you've done the big blockbusters, Ruben Fleischer, Zombieland, Zack Snyder, all that stuff, even M. Night Shyamalan. But I would say if I'm gonna guess, maybe like Noah Baumbach, Squid and the Whale, or David Fincher's Social Network, like for maybe this tone, or maybe even a Woody Allen. But like, who do you think influenced your style of the previous work you've done on this one?
Well, what's pretty interesting is actually the first scene that we shot in the social network. We ended up shooting again. It was the only scene we reshot. And I asked the director, why did we reshoot this? Because it didn't seem like that much was different. And he
Right.
said, the shots were too complicated. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I was doing too many shots and it was too complicated. I said, oh, really? That's so fascinating. Because here I thought I was working with this guy who's making this huge movie with
Yeah.
every technical machine at his disposal. And he wanted
Right.
to simplify, simplify, simplify. And I was thinking that is so interesting. And so, my movie is obviously quite different from his movies. But yet there was a feeling that I always had, which was like, what is the most focused way we can tell this story? And so, like the thing you just described, there's not many shots you could do on a roof where two guys are talking for 5 minutes, but you can
Right.
have a character turn around as a kind of passive aggressive move
Right.
to try to get out of uncomfortable situation. And so it's like little things like that. Like how can you do this you can call it simple or focused or concentrated or whatever, but how can you like kind of how can you tell the story without overcomplicating it? And that's kind of what I was trying to do the whole time.
Absolutely. Well, I know we got to run, but yeah, I just want to say thank you for your career of work. I've always felt sort of I don't know, just a connection with the way I feel like our you and me, our brains work so fast, our mouths can barely keep up with it. And when
Oh,
you played Zuckerberg, I was like, hey, I get that.
oh
I
God.
get the idea of trying to keep up with it. So when you have these monologues in this movie, I think I can kind of see you on screen as David a lot,
Oh
and I
yeah,
just
that's so nice.
so it's great to see your shine through in your actual work, man.
You're so
Congrats.
kind. Thanks, Jace. That's so nice of you to say.
All right. Well, best of luck this word season. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.